Hey guys, welcome to Gear Guys, the show that gives you reviews and commentary on some of your favorite gear. I'm your host, Parker McCabe, and let's get started. Today, we have the DSLR Flycam Nano, which is what I think it's called. You can find it under many different names. That's the one it was called when we bought it. So this guy retails for about 150 bucks. Probably one of the cheaper versions of a Steadicam you're going to find out there, and to be frank, it really works well. We've had no problems with it. So kind of giving you an overview of this puppy. We have from the bottom up these little holders here, and what these hold are these little weights. You can see they're like money from a far off land, coins. Don't do that. Anyway, you can add these little weights to this little carrier here, and by doing that increase the weight on either side, because the whole point of a Steadicam is to steady your shots, and the way it does that is by evening out the weight on the top here with the weight on the bottom. So essentially you almost have a neutral weight, a weight neutral system. It's a counterbalance is what it is. It counterbalances the weight. So let's go down the line here. You've got the shaftal region. I believe that's technical speech for that area. Then you have the gimbal here, and this is what makes it all possible. This gimbal is what allows this guy to sit free and rotate free on these different axes. It can spin, it can rotate, and it really is the crux of the Steadicam. Then up here you have the staging area, it's called. This is called the sled down here. This is called the staging area, and this is where the camera sits. And you have some fine adjustments you can see up here and here that when loosened allow you to move this staging platform forward and backwards, and then there's a couple down here that when those are released it allows you to move the staging area left and right, which is kind of the way this guy works. You've got to get the camera completely centered. The weight of the center of gravity has to be completely centered over this post for this thing to work. Now, a little bit about the Steadicam. In the 1970s, a guy by the name of Garrett Brown developed a Steadicam. His goal was to remove the cameraman from the equation. He didn't like how cameras were always stuck to the cameraman. He liked the free-flowing movements of camera, how looking at a camera frame, a 2D medium can turn 3D with the movement of the camera, and he really liked that. But he wanted to free it from the cameraman and from the dolly, which is, as you know, a 1,000-pound machine that takes 4 guys to lift with dolly track, and it's a nightmare. What's great about the Steadicam is, in its most basic form, can kind of emulate a dolly. You can do a very slow push in or a very slow boom up, and depending on how steady it is and how you can steady it even more in post, it'll allow you to get a really steady shot and almost like a dolly shot. So it's kind of emulating a dolly. So that's kind of cool. So let's get the camera up here and kind of show you what it looks like to steady this and get us some steady looking shots here. So we'll put it on first, and we'll kind of let the camera just sit horizontally and see what happens. And you can see the camera side is weighing down a lot heavier. So you want to start this guy kind of in the middle. We kind of started a little low, so let me put it towards the middle here. Start this shaft towards the middle, tighten that down. Now let's let this sit and see what happens. All right, the camera's still a little bit top heavy there, so we're going to let this come down a little bit farther. And I'm not going to give you a full in-depth tutorial on how to steady this because there's plenty of those out there, and like I said, it can take literally hours to get this perfect. That's pretty close. Even though this is coming down a little bit, that's pretty close. That's pretty good. So the next thing you want to do is you want to let it sit, and you want to kind of let go of it and see where the camera goes. So you can see it's falling back. So that means we need to slide it forward. So we release these knobs here on the side. Push this forward. And we'll kind of lift it up again, see where it's falling. It's falling a bit forward now, so you've probably gone a bit too far. And this is what I'm talking about. You know, it takes a lot of balancing, a lot of adjustments, a lot of adjusting to get this just right. When you think you've got it on the one axis, you kind of dial that in, screw it down, and then you got to release these because I think it's falling to the right a little bit. Falling to the right, so we need to bring it this way, just a hair. And it's often difficult to do like minute changes because the slides up here can kind of just jitter and just move really quickly. So let's see. All right, that's pretty good. So you can see, you know, it's kind of staying pretty upright. And you can see as it moves around, you get these nice sliding movements, these nice sliding shots. Move around. Do like a nice kind of dolly sideways. You keep it like this. So you see, it really allows you to do some really nice kind of sweeping shots, some very slow shots. I have this little bug here. Let's go over some techniques and some points to keep in mind. You've got the main grip here. Now this, you're really gonna have to hold your hand straight up as much as possible, and you wanna be really tight in your wrist. So you hold this up and support this weight. If you let it go, you know, it can drop down like this, but you wanna keep it straight, and that's hard. And then use these other two fingers just barely to touch. Just to touch and barely direct, and barely turn the Steadicam. They say that the best Steadicam operators are violinists, actually, because they have the dexterity and the gentleness in their fingers to know how to run the Steadicam and run it well. So you can see just a couple fingers, just to direct it, just to turn it ever so slightly. Let's talk about one other thing real quick, and that's the lens, the type of lens you're going to use. If you want to use something that's going to give you the maximized kind of look out of the Steadicam, you want a wide-angle lens. Something like this Rockinon 14mm that we got from our good buddy CJ. He let us borrow it. We appreciate that. Anything that's really narrow of a focal length, you're going to lose the advantage of having a Steadicam. You're not going to be able to see the smoothness and the steady shots. If you go too wide, like a 10 or 11mm or anything lower than that, you might find yourself getting kind of a fisheye type of look, and you don't want that. So we find that the 14 to like 16 down to like 12 range maybe, that's a good area to be. So one other thing I want to talk about here before we kind of show you some footage is the connection plate. We have your typical kind of, you know, release kind of shoe. I don't even know what these are called. It's very typical. You know, you pull this lever back, it slides in. This is not the best type of release for this piece of equipment. The problem is if you're running with a system where you have a tripod, a shoulder rig, the Steadicam, you're going to want to get something that has a quick release plate on it that you can then use for all of your different rigs, that you can go back and forth between each one. That's going to be the easiest for you. So alright, let's show you some footage now of some tests that we did, side-by-side comparisons, as well as some footage we've shot with the Steadicam to kind of give you an idea of what it looks like. See you back here. Alright, so as you can see here, we've got a little action scene with Jay, and the first off, it's handheld. Very shaky. You can see it's kind of distracting and just doesn't feel right. Then the second one here, we're using the Flycam, and you can see it's much smoother. Not super smooth, but at least a lot smoother than the handheld, that's for sure. Now we have another little scene here with a handheld, Jay running into the grass, diving, saving the world. Handheld. Now with the Flycam, a lot smoother. Look at that. You're part of the action. Here's a side-by-side comparison of the Michael Bay revolve shot that with the Flycam, it just makes it so dramatic. Handheld, it's almost unusable. Lastly, we've got an excerpt from Life's a Happy Song, a remix we did of the song from the Muppets, and a little tidbit is that sky in the background is actually fake. It was not there the day we shot. It was a gray, dull sky, but with the Flycam, we were able to take steady shots, steady them, and replace the sky. Hey guys, welcome back. In closing, we want to go over some pros and cons and reiterate the price of this guy. It's $150, which is a pretty good price point. You've got a lot of Steadicams out there that you know, have really similar features. Their prices are all over the place. We found this is one of the more reasonably priced ones, and it's done great for us. We've used it in many productions. A couple cons. First thing is, of course, the plate that comes with it up here. That's not really a con of the rig itself, but you are going to want to change this out. The staging platform up here is very difficult to adjust. You've got to, you know, fine-tune these little knobs and slide it, and it'll move just a little bit, and then it'll jump. And another thing that happens, which is happening right now, is check this out. You see this shaft here, and you see this movement here that goes back between this staging plate. That's not the gimbal. That's the movement of a loose bolt from this hex bolt here that we need to tighten. And that happens a lot, so that's one thing to note. Another thing to note is that while this works pretty well, some more expensive versions might have a little bit more tighter fit and finish. This platform on the bottom here comes unscrewed a lot. This guy down here. You've got the trays here for the weights. I think the weight system could be a little bit better. I don't mind how it does it, but these weights are very difficult to get out of here. You've got to almost turn the whole rig upside down to pull out the weights, and otherwise they get stuck in there. If you don't have a really powerful magnet, you're kind of screwed. It does come with a second set of holders for your weights, so you can, you know, screw this one on here, do the same on this side, and so you can really add a lot of weight. It can hold up to, I think, you know, 6 pounds or so. It definitely gives you a lot of room. So that's definitely a good thing. It gets the job done. I mean, at the end of the day, you want something that's going to give you steady shots. This thing does it. It's not as good or as expensive as some of the top brands out there, but it's going to get the job done and give you the shots that you're looking for. So yeah, that's all I can say about it. I really can't say anything bad, so I guess I'm just going to leave it there. You know, guys, thanks for coming by. If you like this episode or any episode, please subscribe. Please check us out on Facebook and Twitter. Those links are going to be in the description below. If you have any comments or any questions or any ideas, please leave them in the comments. We always look at those, and we'll be more than happy to try and accommodate you. But until then, check out our website at setsunamedia.com/gearguys. And other than that, guys, come back because we're going to have some exciting reviews coming up. All right, stay classy.